Okay, hello everybody. So we're going to be going over one other vocal part. Today, this is the vocal part for Ladrang Pariwisata, Lara Slendro Patut Songo. So this piece is again a popular tune from the composer Ki Nartosabdho, who was a kind of modern 20th century composer. So again, a lot of these pieces from Ki Nartosabdho are heavily based around the vocal line. So one thing that is going to be different about this piece that we're doing today is this is the first vocal tune that we've done that actually goes into Irama 3 or Irama Wilit. As I've talked about before, when we change Irama into slower Irama levels, the balongan becomes more sparse, right? The balongan becomes more spread out, and the flowering instruments start taking up a little bit more space. So as that happens, it becomes a little bit more difficult to keep track exactly of the balongan because the balongan is so spread apart. But this is going to give us a little bit of practice in terms of following that. So one cool thing about this piece is that in all irama, the balongan is exactly the same. All right. The only thing that's really going to change is how fast the balongan is proceeding, and then our vocal part is going to change. So looking at this piece here, we have a buko, and then we just have the balongan is listed right here at the top, right? This balongan is just repeated over and over and over again. For the vocal parts, if we're in irama 1 or irama tanggung, we're going to be singing this top line right here. Underneath the balongan, we have this line for irama 1. Now, when we're in irama 1, we're going to be alternating between a instrumental repetition, one full cycle of the balongan that is totally instrumental, and another cycle which includes the vocal part. And that's going to happen 2 times. At the end of that second vocal part, we're going to slow down, changing to irama 2 or irama dados. Now once we're in irama 2, irama dados, we're going to be singing this, the second line here on the vocal part. Yeah? That we didn't go over in previous lessons about pronunciation is the letters NG. So if NG is just by itself, that's pronounced like at the end of the word sing. So if I'm pronouncing this right here, I would say ngungun, ngungun. Yeah, that can be a little bit tricky to get used to, but you will get it. Okay, so after we're in irama 2, irama dados, we're going to sing this vocal part. Now irama 2, irama dados, is only going to be repeated 1 time. So at the end of this irama 2 cycle, we're going to slow down again as we're going through this vocal part. And once we get to the end, we're going to be jumping into irama 3 or irama wilit. Now once we're in irama wilit, notice up here, we've just got 2 lines of balongan with no vocal part, right? So there's going to be sinden, the female vocal soloist there, but we won't have the choir part. So we have to just wait for this balongan to go by, and then we're going to join in right here on this 3rd line of the balongan. So we just wait for that, and then we start right here. Here I have 2 lines of text. So the first repetition, we'll use the first line. Second repetition, we'll use the second line here. And in this particular recording, there are actually 3 repetitions in irama wilit. So for the 3rd repetition, we're going to use this text right here. So for this practice run, we're just going to try singing through these first 2 lines. Later, if you already have the melody memorized, then you can try it with the 3rd line of text right here. That's a little bit trickier just because it's written separately. So, another couple things that I needed to add before we actually get started with trying this out is there were a couple of typos in the vocal parts here, so I've just crossed them out and written in right next to it the correct word. So instead of blum, it's blam, and instead of sumbr, it's tandon. Yeah, all right, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and jump in and try and sing through this one time. Whenever I don't have a vocal part, I try to sing along with the balongan a little bit, just so that I have an exact sense of where the pitches are, so that I know exactly, okay, if I'm starting on ro, ro is exactly where, yeah. All right, so this piece is a little bit more, well, substantially more difficult than the other ones that we've done, so just do your very best to follow along. And one thing that you'll notice is that sometimes there are slight rhythmic variations in comparison to what is actually written in the notation. It's performed a little bit differently, but don't worry about that. That's one of those things that you kind of learn naturally. As you repeat this over and over again, you get a feel for those subtle differences in rhythm, because not everything is precisely notated in the Kapatian notation. All right, let's try it out. so hopefully you were able to follow along with those first two lines. If you already feel comfortable with that, then go over it until you have this vocal line totally memorized, until it's really comfortable and natural. Once you have that, you can try doing it with this third line of text for the third repetition. So I'll send along this recording, the full recording along with the notation, and you can follow along with that. An important thing when you're filling in with this extra verse of text is making sure that each syllable lasts the same amount of time, right? So if you notice this line underneath the numbers, that's kind of indicating that we're going to use just this one syllable for this whole thing, for this whole little passage right here, right? So that's going to be really important when you're filling in with this third line of text. All right, so practice this one and really get used to the feeling of those different iromo, those different tempo levels, and how the kind of feeling in terms of the balance of the balungan as opposed to the other instruments really changes in the overall sound.